Tattoo artists use this so they can tattoo with precision, creating clean, fine lines while keeping their hands relaxed to prevent cramps and carpal tunnel. It's called grip tape, and if it has all those amazing benefits for them, it's time to determine if it can do the same for us. By now you probably know that I'm a nerd for trying to find new ways to improve my miniature painting, whether that's learning something from an artist or by finding some new tool or hack to help me get better. So a bit over a year ago, I was sitting in my tattoo artist chair getting some work done, and I asked him about this grip tape. He said artists wrap their tattoo guns with it to help prevent strain, cramping, and carpal tunnel in their hands, and it gives better precision, especially for fine line work. And honestly, those seem like really valuable things for us in the miniature painting world. So I bought a bunch of this stuff for cheap on Amazon to try it out. And today we're going to see what the results are. And the stuff was pretty cheap. It was like $8 for 12 rolls. So if you want to try it for yourself, I'll put a link down in the video description. So here's how we're going to test it out. I'm going to take 2 brushes of the same size and brand, both almost brand new, and I'll wrap one of them. I'm going to go back and forth between those 2 brushes so I can get a side-by-side comparison on how they feel and how accurate my detail work is with each brush. And since I have a dozen tiny rats that are hitching a ride on Visic, I thought they would be a great thing to test this out with. I get to repeat the same steps over and over again when a really tiny object to make sure that I can get those precise details as accurate as possible. Now to warm up working with each brush, I'm going to do a little black lining around our rodent buddies here. This is something I'll often do when one material meets another to help define them, especially when they're tiny like these little boogers are. Now throughout this, I'm switching back and forth between the 2 brushes pretty consistently so I can get some immediate feedback on feel as well as how well they perform using the same tasks. Now throughout the painting, I'm going to do a variety of techniques that I often use when painting detail work in miniature painting, so I get a wide spectrum of usage between each brush to determine my final outcome. But I will say my immediate response to using a brush wrapped in this grip tape is pretty positive. And one bonus to using this stuff, if you're not familiar with it, is it's not sticky or tacky at all. It has no adhesive to it, but it grips to itself. So you can just kind of wrap it around itself a bunch of times, and you can control how thick you want it on different sections, and it'll just stay there firm without needing to tuck it in or tape the end. I wonder if I should do this entire video with mummy hand. No, I got a better idea. How about I wrap my hand with this stuff with a paintbrush, and then I'm like Edward paintbrush hands, where I can't move my hand or go pee or anything until I've finished painting a model. Alright, the next step is to base coat these rats entirely with Rakarth Flesh, which is a really desaturated off-white skin tone, and base coating isn't really precision painting, and I'm realizing that I shouldn't be using these small tiny brushes for this step anyway. The main reason being that how I hold my paintbrush for big work like base coating or wet blending is different than how I hold my brush when I'm doing small detail work. I tend not to choke up on my brush when I'm doing more laid-back painting, and I definitely use a bigger brush to get that work done quicker. So what I'm realizing here is that even if this grip tape does end up being super useful, I don't think it needs to be on every single paintbrush I own. Bigger brushes that I base coat, wet blend, and dry brush with probably wouldn't benefit very much from me putting this stuff on them. I do come back in with the small brushes to base coat the tiny toes and details that touch the other sections of my main model to make sure that I don't make mistakes here, and from here I can start adding some color to our rat's fur. And I'm painting these rats today in an heavy metal style paint job, and I'm doing that for 2 reasons. First of all, this style does a really good job of giving nice, crisp, well-defined details to smaller models or sections of models. And because these things are so small, I don't want them to just look like they're tiny smudges when considering the whole model when it's complete. I don't want them to be the focus of your attention as a viewer, but I want them to be clean and easy to read when you look closely at them. And the other reason why I'm painting them in an heavy metal style is because that painting style is really demanding when it comes to the precision work it asks of you. It certainly taxes me much more when it comes to my exact line work than any other mini painting approach that I've tried, so it's a good test on if this grip tape actually aids me. Oh, motherfucker, get out of here, cat. What are you doing in here? Kitty cat. Now to paint this fur over a bright base tone, I'm actually thinning down these fur colors so they get to be a heavy glaze consistency. This keeps our midtones bright and punchy because we have that light undercoat. This isn't really precision work per se, but because the rats are so tiny, I do want to make sure we don't let this thin paint flow into areas we don't want it to. And I feel like this is actually a really good time for me to talk about paint mixing and paint thinning, because it is one of those things that has a massive effect on your ability to paint fine detail work, and it's not something that's often talked about, so let's dig into it. So what I do is create a smaller puddle of paint every time I'm working through a new color, grabbing from the bigger drop that I took from the bottle. If I'm creating a mix, I do that at this point, mixing the new colors together as well. I like to keep a drop or two of water and mixing medium, Lamian medium in this case, in the corner of my wet palette so I can grab some quickly at any time during the painting session, especially here while I'm thinning or mixing colors. I always mix a bit of both the medium and the water into my small puddle. If I'm creating a heavy glaze, I mix it till it's about a skim milk consistency. If I'm making a thin glaze, I mix even more water in until the paint becomes transparent to the level I'm looking for. I like to check how transparent a glaze is by wiping my brush on the back of my hand. That way I can see how much of my skin tone is showing through that tint of color above it. Now at this point, you've mixed your color to the consistency you're looking for and your brush is full of paint. Do not start painting now. What I do is twist my brush on the wet palette to remove a lot of that paint that's in the bristles so I don't waste it. Then I completely rinse my brush in my water cup so it's completely clean. I run it over my paper towel to remove most of the moisture, but not all of it, and then I go back to my palette and load my brush with paint. Now that my brush is loaded with paint about halfway down the bristles, I wick it off on the back of my hand or on a paper towel to let some of that extra moisture leave the brush so when I touch the model, it doesn't flood all over it. What we've done here is we've created just the right amount of paint at the correct level of flow so it effortlessly leaves the tip of our brush. And this is really one of the most important factors to executing on clean detail work on your miniatures. God damn it, that is a lot of words to describe all the steps leading up to painting the miniature before you paint the miniature, but I do think that they're actually really valuable things. They're the kinds of little detailed steps that I would have really benefited from when I was learning painting for the first time, when I was struggling with frustration in painting small details. Because if you're anything like me, most of your frustration points in miniature painting comes from painting details and not knowing each of those steps. I've had to trial and error my way through learning each of these myself, for painting all those important edge highlights, the dotting of tiny eyes, and every other small detail on our model. So hopefully now you don't have to go through all that growing pains that I did. And I'm not saying the steps that I shared are the only ways to set yourself up for success in painting precisely with your model. They're just the ways that have found work best for me. You may have other ways that really help you paint details, and I'm curious to hear about them and try them myself. So if you want to put those down in the comment section, I'll make sure to read them. Today's video was brought to us by Archon Studios' exciting upcoming campaign launching April 1st, Dungeons and Lasers Porthaven. Now you may be familiar with Archon Studio. They've been making high quality on-sprue HIPS plastic terrain and models for wargaming and tabletop RPGs for a number of years now, and I just gotta say, they really know what they're doing. Not only do they prioritize the highest quality plastic models that are 32mm scale and incredible value per model and compatible with D&D 5e, but they also design their models from concept to sculpting to be a joy to paint. And that's not some flyby selling point I'm just spewing out at you. Creating high quality, crisp 32mm models that are also really fun to paint is not easy, and it's actually not very common in this hobby. The Porthaven campaign features 4 core sets filled with miniatures and props: the tavern, the bazaar, the port, and the ship's crew. And you're probably wondering, what ship is this crew crewing? I don't know, maybe a massive 28-inch long by 22 inches tall friggin' ship. You're not going to want to miss backing this campaign on GameFound. And don't worry about having to wait too long to get your precious models, because Archon Studio manufactures all of their models in their own factory. So that means they're going to deliver on time or early. So use the link down the video description to follow the GameFound campaign. This is important because if you do that, you get a free Macaw Griffin miniature. And once the campaign starts, you'll also get a free Aboleth miniature. So make sure that you check out that link down below, hit the follow button. A big thank you to Archon Studios. Now let's get back to the video. Now, at this point, I've been working on the fur, doing a second and third darker glaze to build up the depth of color in the darker regions, and then I come back through with thin lines and dots to highlight the raised bits of fur and where the light would catch the most. And as I start working on the skin of our first set of rats here, I'm starting to realize that every time I'm not using the paintbrush with the grip tape, I'm wishing that I was. I started on these rats keeping my brush usage about 50-50 with each brush, but as I'm working in tighter and tighter sections on these tiny models, I'm feeling that I simply have better control by using the brush that's wrapped in the tape. I'm finding I don't need to choke up on the brush nearly so far while still keeping a high level of precision, meaning that I'm not trying to choke that tiny metal ferrule right where the bristles come out. And because I'm not gripping the brush so tightly, the muscles in my hand are much more relaxed. When I'm painting for 8+ hours a day, like I've been doing for this Golden Demon project, I tend to get some cramps and stiff fingers by the end of the session. And just like it's important during a painting session to get up every hour or two and stretch, let your eyes adjust to different distances, it's also nice to kind of give yourself a little hand massage to prevent any of that cramping or straining on your hand. And while I haven't put enough 8-hour sessions in with a tape brush just yet to know for certain that it totally prevents this cramping, I really feel like I've spent enough time with it to know that it will have some kind of positive effect, because after each session I've used with it so far, my hand has felt much less strained. Did you notice I have this fake plant on my desk here? I don't know why it's here. There's no real purpose. I bet you were waiting for me to show how I use this in miniature painting in some capacity, but I'm just gonna keep it there for now. Bet you can't stop looking at it now, huh? The other thing I'm noticing while using the taped brush is that because I can use a more relaxed grip while still keeping a lot of precision, is that I don't have those tiny shakes or unsteadiness in my hands. At least not as much. Even if you're a really steady painter, you'll notice this when you're trying to paint the tiniest work in our hobby, which is painting eyes. But you still aren't perfectly stable in other times when you're painting as well. You're just less focused on how shaky you are. So this thing does help aid in my overall stability with the brush, and that's a good thing. Now I keep working my way through all the tiny little details on our furry friends here, and as I'm painting their fur on the other rats, I'm varying up the colors because I don't want all the rat fur to look the exact same, because that's boring and I get bored easily, and rats are different colors sometimes, and that's what I'm gonna go with here. You know, as I was talking about painting with a steady brush just a minute ago, it got me thinking about one of the other most vital factors in painting details, and that actually has nothing to do with a brush. But since at its core, this is a video about painting with precision, we may as well talk about it, and that, of course, is painting posture. Now for me, the most important factor for how I sit while I paint is in my wrists and my elbows. I want my elbows on the armrests of my chair, and I want my wrists firmly on the painting table. Now, the further your contact point is from your fingertips to where your arm is resting on the table, the less stable your painting hand will be, which is why I like to paint like this, with my wrists resting right on the painting table. Now, that may mean that you end up having to lean over and get closer and hunch your back, which is why I recommend people use those standing desks that you can change the height to so you can sit comfortably, not hunch, and still get your wrists firmly planted on your desks. My painting desk is actually set to a kitchen countertop height, which is higher than a standard desk, meaning I can lower my chair a bit and so I can get nice and snug there without having to lean over. And that's all well and good for normal small models, but when you're dealing with a large model like this, you typically can't actually support the model with your wrists stable on the table while still painting the stuff up here, which is one of the bigger hurdles you got to try to find a way through when painting a large model. So what I do is try to get as stable as possible, but sometimes you just need to let Jesus take the wheel and hope your big dumb floppy hands don't screw it all up too bad. Now, another really vital thing for painting with precision is you always want to be pulling the brush towards you. So your brush strokes always start further away from you and are being pulled toward your body. You have the most precision and stabilization with this motion. So if you can, you want to actually be pulling with a rocking motion of your fingers, not your wrist. Our fingers have the most fine motor control compared to all of our other joints after all. Now, since you always want to be using that pulling motion, that means you need to be moving the model, not your painting hand, so you're always able to pull towards yourself. Now, this means that you may have to do some acrobatics with your model, maybe even holding it upside down in your hand like this. And don't worry if you actually have to stabilize the model in the cup of your palm, because that way you can still get really precise work on the undersides of your models or those hard to reach areas, and a little bit of touching of your hand is not actually gonna pull off any paint or anything anyway. At this point, as I'm working my way through to the finish line of these 12 little rat bastards, I find that I'm using the paintbrush with the grip tape about 80% of the time. I often find that, oh shoot, I need to go back to the other brush just because I'm so much more comfortable with this one. And every time I did that, I went back to the normal brush. It didn't feel like I was super confident in my ability to get the tiny dots or the tiny lines as accurately as I could with the one that was taped. And I think that's the key word that I'm going to take away from performing this experiment. That word being confidence. Once I got over the fact that it felt a little bit different in my hand and I started using it, it was really, really natural. It felt like it was the way I should be holding a brush. And it didn't require too much pressure on my hands. And it allowed me to feel like I could accomplish finer detail work better by using it. And confidence really is half the battle, isn't it? I mean, if we feel like we can accomplish something, we're that much more likely to dive in and try it. Now, does that mean that by wrapping your paintbrush with this tape, you're going to become an amazing painter overnight? No, of course not. No single gadget or painting hack ever will. But if you're looking to improve your ability to paint clean lines and fine details, this is a nice thing to do. Just don't forget that preparing your paint correctly, loading your brush properly, your posture, and using a pulling brush stroke are all more important in the grand scheme of painting those fine details on your miniatures. Thanks for hanging out with me today and painting these dozen little tiny rat boys. I was kind of dreading this part of the project because it's 12 tiny individual things and I thought I was going to get bored, but honestly, experimenting with something different and testing it out as I went made the painting process seem to fly by a lot quicker, so that's pretty cool too. One other thing I gotta say about this, no matter what kind of painting you enjoy, whether it's wild, colorful, messy slap chop, mind-numbing heavy metal style, or anywhere in between, those last final details that you put onto your model can make the world of difference. And they don't need to take a long time to do, you just still have to be able to be precise for those few important details. So I hope you're willing to give painting a few tiny details of your model a go. It's something that you will get better with over time, and before you know it, you'll be able to paint the little white dot that is the glint of a reflection in a rat's eye. Appreciate you hanging out with me today and painting some little baby rats. If you like my weird little painting channel here on YouTube and you want to support me, there's some easy ways to do that. You can use the affiliate links down the video description to pick up your hobby gear. Maybe you want to try out the grip tape for yourself. Like I said, it's pretty cheap, and one package of this will probably last you your whole life. You could also pick up a shirt like a Ninja Slay the Gray hoodie, or a coffee mug, or a t-shirt, or there's a bunch of other things in there. We also have the Ninja Patreon where all the cool kids hang out. You get some fun rewards for joining us over there, like behind the scenes footage and unedited footage of all of the stuff that I'm painting here for Golden Demon. And I'll put links down in the video description below to all those things. Thank you so much for your support. You really would allow me to keep the lights on down in my dank basement studio. Now, before you know it, I will be back with another new video. Just make sure that sometime between now and then, you find time in your day to slay the gray.